Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just to introduce myself, my name is Barongo Tea, and we're working with Ogisa Productions to craft this documentary on the history and the development of the field of pharmacy training and practice in Kenya. And we are so delighted to have you today, since you are the fathers of pharmacy in the country. And so, just to begin, okay, sure, yes. Just to begin, perhaps you can introduce yourselves and let us know who you are, so that we can get to know you.
My name is Dr. Albert Mathenge. I am a pharmacist by profession. I qualified with a degree of Bachelor of Pharmacy in 1966 from the University of London. And then I was sponsored by the government of Kenya during that training. And of course, I was bonded by the government. So when I finished that course, I came back, I joined the government as part of my contract. And I worked there in different capacities. I first worked at Kenyatta National Hospital for a period of time. I then was posted to the Medical Training Center. Not the Medical Training College, Medical Training Center as it was called then. There was a faculty of pharmacy in that training center, and I was posted there as the head of that faculty for a period of nearly 2 years. And then after that, I was transferred to the ministry headquarters in the pharmacy section, initially to understudy the then chief pharmacist who had gone on leave. And even when he came back from leave, of course, I understudied him. And from then, I was interviewed by the Public Service Commission and appointed as the chief pharmacist. And I did that job from about 1971 up to 1985, when I retired from the government service. Yeah. I may say that in that capacity, I was also the secretary of the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, which is a board established under Chapter 244 of the laws of Kenya, the Pharmacy and Poisons Act. So I played the role of both the government chief pharmacist as well as the secretary registrar of that board, which of course concerned matters of pharmacy which were even outside the government. Yeah.
Okay, it's my turn. Good afternoon. Nice being here. Well, I'm much younger than my colleague here, Dr. Albert Mathenge. I went to the University of Manchester in 1970 and finished 1973. I had been sponsored, as Dr. Mathenge had said, sponsored by the Kenya government also. But when I graduated, there was a serious Africanization program in Kenya in the pharmaceutical sector, pharmaceutical industry for that matter. And the Kenya Embassy in London was approached by Mayor and Becker to see whether they could have the pharmacists who are graduating in the UK to be interviewed for the position of pharmacist and marketing and sales and marketing manager of Mayor and Becker East Africa. So I happened to be the one who was picked, and I served in the UK for a year at the retail level, and for 6 months, and then at Mayor and Becker 6 months before they sent me back to Kenya. I had registered then in the UK, So I was a member of the pharmaceutical side of Great Britain. When I got here, even though I had already a job in hand, the regulations then were such that you had to be registered by the by the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, as he has indicated. So I applied for registration, and the Pharmacy and Poisons Board was one to interview me and others. And Mr. Mathenge, as he has told you, he was the secretary of that board. And I was registered, having come back in September 74, I was registered, I think, in November 1974. Then I worked in that pharmaceutical company, moved on to a bigger pharmaceutical company, 1977. I was again the first African there as the marketing director of Glaxo East Africa Limited, which you must have heard of, and until 1981, when I went into my own pharmacy practice in the retail sector in Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kilifi. Until, it's a long story, but I want to, as we focus on pharmacy, maybe I'll come back later on to give more highlights on my involvement as a pharmacist, because 1988, I was elected Member of Parliament for Bahari in Kilifi, so I had a break from the pharmacy practice, and then came back as a Member of Parliament to join my fellow pharmacists in developing various aspects of the industry and profession up to now. I can finish this section by saying 1977, I was the first African secretary of the pharmaceutical side of Kenya. And then I became chairman, the first chairman of PSK to serve for 3 years. 81, 82 for 1 year, then 85, 86 another year, and then 86, 87 for another year. So that's basically for now, that's Mtana Lewa. Born in Kilifi and did pharmacy in the UK.
Okay. So just to take you back to your undergraduate years when you were studying pharmacy, and notably you studied pharmacy in the UK, and you say that you have been sponsored by the government.
Yeah.
And so perhaps if each of you could tell us if there were any Kenyans with you, were there any other Kenyans with you as well sponsored to study pharmacy in the UK, and perhaps you could also give us insight as to why the government was sponsoring Kenyans to go and study pharmacy in the UK rather than have school locally, at least at that time.
Well, in that year of 1963, September, that's when I and another colleague, he is the late Professor Muriuki of the University of Nairobi, was sponsored to UK together in that year. We were not the only ones who were sponsored by the government to do pharmacy in that year. There was another 2 gentlemen. One was called Kare Muriuki. The other one was Eliud Waguse.
Oh, yeah.
And both of them went to Canada.
Yeah.
In the subsequent years, others followed. And that is, it was a continuous thing, because the whole idea was that independence was coming. By 1963, it was coming. So we ourselves celebrated Independence Day huko, those of us. Then, of course, Akina, my friend here, and the others went after independence. But the whole thing was that even before independence, there was a period of self-government before independence in Kenya. And of course, that was a period where the Africans were being prepared to take over the jobs that were being done by the colonial masters, the Europeans and the Asians. So this was a deliberate program. And as far as the Commonwealth, actually, I think you also went under the same special Commonwealth African Assistance Plan. So that is the body that actually provided, I think, the funds for those students who went abroad to study various things. Because I'm talking about that because that was pharmacy. There must be others who went for engineering, for this and for that, as well as other people who are already in service, who are being prepared for higher positions in their various fields. So they went there for shorter courses maybe to enhance their performance and their education and their performance. So that is how we were sponsored under that general plan of getting qualified people to take over the services that were being run by the Europeans. What was the second question? The second part of the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, in my case, in 1970, September, 7 of us went on the same program. Of the 7, myself and another gentleman will come later on and he'll speak about what happened. But when we were in the UK, those of us, 7 of us who went, we were in different universities. I was the only one in Manchester University. And then 1 year down the line, Dr. Mathenge and other people here in Kenya, other pharmacists, had been lobbying the Kenya government, particularly the University of Nairobi, to start the School of Pharmacy. We were told by the Kenya Embassy in London that you are here, 7 of you studying pharmacy. Be prepared to go home and become the first, not the first, but the first lecturers at the University of Nairobi. And as I mentioned earlier, the same Kenya Embassy was given this opportunity to pick one of 7 to come and do another assignment. So I came to do that assignment, and the other 6 are the pioneer lecturers of the School of Pharmacy, University of Nairobi. So I can go on and say that while I was in the industry, those were my colleagues, people I knew very well, my peers who were starting the School of Pharmacy, University of Nairobi. So whenever they needed somebody who was in the industry to come to the University of Nairobi, to come and give talks to the students, the students, some of them were first years, now they're big names. I can mention Dr. Kedero as one of the first. He joined the University of Nairobi, and if I'd been there, I would have taught him. So I taught those people, me from outside now. Here is a pharmacist, something that was actually not expected much of, particularly for those African pharmacists who had been sent by the Kenya government to come and not teach, but also there were only about a handful of them in the health sector, the mainstream hospitals. As he said, Kenyatta National Hospital, and then the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, chief pharmacist. So we had to interact, and as I said, as secretary of the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya, we had now to come and go to the university and give them some lectures on issues of marketing and management in general. You know, why should a pharmacist come and work as a sales and marketing manager? You know, something out of the mainstream. But then since then, we are all over the place, and I'm happy to say that I contributed to that. And as I stop this particular section, in the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, where he was a chief pharmacist and the registrar of the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, the composition of that board had to include a veterinary surgeon and
chairman of the medical doctor,
who is mostly the director of medical services, and 3 members from the pharmaceutical side of Kenya. So I'm happy to say that in that Pharmacy and Poisons Board, I also served for 7 years. So when we hear of pharmacists, young pharmacists, having finished university, and they have to go out and be trained under internship to be able to work now as a full registered pharmacist, they had to go through that internship program, which me and him were part of the designing of a 6 months hospital, 3 months industry, and a 3 months retail. So, you know, we're happy to have been a part of the pioneer group to do that.
Let me put it clearly.
Yeah.
That the whole idea of starting a school of pharmacy in Nairobi did not really start with us.
Yeah.
The minutes of the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, earlier than when I got into the position, were showing that efforts and sentiments had been expressed by those who are members of the board before. They were mainly the Europeans and the Asians. There were no Africans at that time. I think, to be specific, I am the very first African Kenyan. I'm saying, let me African Kenyan to obtain that degree of pharmacy. And as I say, there were those sentiments when I read the minutes of the previous board. There were those sentiments. And then actually the government took it seriously, to the point where actually by direction from the president, Jomo Kenyatta, he directed that a school of pharmacy and school of dentistry be started in Nairobi University. And they were actually started in 1974, both schools.
Yeah.
And those of us who had been there, including him and so on, we played there were some two or three pharmacists who, instead of coming to work in what we call the mainstream pharmacy, mahospitali na hiyo ingine, they went to join the university. Because in the study of pharmacy, there are subjects which are also taught or learned by other people who become professionals in the different field. So those pharmacists were actually recruited to teach in the university. Not pharmacy students, but other students who are studying something like BSc, even medicine. And don't forget, medicine was not also very much older. It was started in 1967. So it was relatively also fairly young. So those of us who are now in the government, that pool of pharmacists who are now available, of course, give a push, including, of course, established things like the syllabuses and so on and so on. And then we give it to the university now to do their part. Of course, including recruitment of other staff to teach in the School of Pharmacy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing I could also mention is that as we were going to the UK, there are other people who are going to other countries, especially the politics of that time. There were people who were what we call pro-Western and pro-Eastern. So there are some other students who were sponsored maybe in other ways. I doubt the government sponsored any to that, to Eastern countries. But there were other students who found themselves studying pharmacy in other countries. Some went to Italy.
India.
Others,
India, yes.
India also went there.
Yeah.
Bulgaria, Soviet Union, and some other countries. But the law, as it stood at the time, it was that only those people who were qualified from the British system were eligible for registration. But that had been changed. I think by the time we come, it said all similar.
Yeah.
And of course, that opened the door for everybody.
Yeah.
And in those early stages, we had very difficult times trying to assess the qualifications of those people, because you see, it is one thing saying you are a doctor or a pharmacist or what, but until we see you at work, it is very questionable. So we had to ascertain that. And we, in the course of it, I think this including him, we developed a system of examining the assessing the qualifications of those people who returned to Kenya, having studied pharmacy outside, can we say, the Commonwealth system. Yes. And it wasn't easy. And it was not only in pharmacy. There are similar problems in other disciplines.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so I think we shall narrow in first into the university and then into policy. So, being that the university started in 1974, right? The first school must have graduated in maybe 1978. 1978, yes. And so, since then, you must have interacted with many graduates of the university, right? For example, Honorable Kibwage, who has just been in here, he admitted. And so, what is your assessment of, as you said, assessment of the training that they received at the university? So again, starting from those initial graduates as far as the most recent graduates, if you've interacted with them, would you say their training, how would you say the training has gone?
The most important, I think, aspect of the course at Nairobi University in pharmacy is that it opened doors even not only for Kenyans, but for other people from neighboring countries or friendly countries. Because I remember we had even, I think in the very first group, we had a student from Botswana. And also, I think the other countries, Uganda and Tanzania, opened universities. I'm not sure about Tanzania, about Uganda, but I think Tanzania also started a school of pharmacy. And well, I cannot vouch about the students, how many they were from different places, but obviously we were mainly catering for our own needs. But we always, it was not lost on us that we should help other countries so that of course we can have an international sort of image.
Yeah. As I said earlier, for my observation was, here I am, I would have been one of the first lecturers, but I wasn't. And the peers who were there, I can name, as I said, Dr. Karanja is coming later on to talk to you, and many others. We had studied in the UK. We had our own. We had our own. What do you call level? Is it
Standard.
or what is it called?
It's authenticity.
Hurdle. Yeah, we needed
acceptability.
standards to be, these guys who are studying here in Nairobi should not be any less than this standard. Exactly. So we made sure that happened. And so much so that, as I said, when now we came to sit at the regulation the level at the Farmers and Poisons Board, we said we'll come with a 6 months hospital, 3 months retail, 3 months industry. And where they went, we had our own peers who would train these people. And me, as me having been the pioneer pharmacy in the industry, the pharmaceutical industry, me and Becker, Glaxo, Sterling, and many others, we didn't just send them to study internship in 3 months in an industry where there was no pharmacist worth our standards. You see, we didn't send them to any retail chemist in Nairobi where the owner of that pharmacy was not worth our standard. And hospital was the same. And I can say for sure, I've been out of the mainstream now for almost 12 years. But the ones who we took on board, took them through internship, they were good material. And I went out of, as I said, went out of mainstream pharmacy, went into politics, got back into pharmacy now, this time as a consultant with the UN. And, to me, I look at, they didn't say it loudly, but they kept on saying, I wish I could be like so-and-so, I wish I could be like so-and-so. So much so that 2003, when the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, KEMSA, was made an autonomous institution, a parastatal, so to speak, and detached from the mainstream pharmacy. I was sent there for the first time ever to work for the government on a USAID project to be the director of technical services. And because these pharmacists were there, good people, but at the pharmacy, at the central medical stores then, even the chief administrator was not a pharmacist. So we had to lobby and make sure that changed. The board, the first board, was made of at least 60% pharmacists, and they were all recruited from these young pharmacists who had come from the University of Nairobi. And so people realized and felt they felt the importance, or rather, the community everywhere in the public sector now saw how important this profession of pharmacists, how important it is, particularly supply chain management, in management of district hospitals, provincial hospitals, and so on. Otherwise, before that, the pharmacy department in maybe Kenyatta National Hospital, Coast General Hospital, or whatever, was a small store stuck somewhere at a corner there, with somebody called compounder, who, honestly, as he had said, we had gone to the Kenya Medical Training Center, and the emphasis then was just that of compounding medicines and dispensing those medicines. There was no other aspect of holistic approach to pharmacy, not to leave out issues of clinical pharmacy and compliance to medicines and things like that. So we believe, as pioneers of the pharmaceutical sector, we impacted the training of pharmacists, the first pharmacists. And also, after that, come around 1998, we started saying, why can't we have other schools of pharmacy coming up? So the government thought of other institutions where schools of pharmacy were developed. Now, I think the government schools of pharmacy are now about 3. There's
How many?
the ones sponsored by the government. The others who are in private universities. But the ones sponsored by the government, I think there's the University of Nairobi, there's the Kenyatta University, and Moi University.
And okay, the private ones.
Private ones are
Kemu in Meru.
Meru, Kemu,
Kabarak,
Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya. So we are happy as pharmacists. This is not of those days where we were being seen like subordinate, subordinate staff, and subordinate to the physicians and dentists, where they would prescribe, and we just have to take it and give it. No, if we at this day and age, I am told that's. I mean, I know that's happening because it started during our days, as even at KEMSA, we are the ones to select the medicines for use in the Kenyan health sector based on the morbidity patterns in the country. We as pharmacists, we as pharmacists register the medicines in collaborations. We as pharmacists get those medicines tested and quality control. The National Quality Control Laboratory, which again was started during our time by the GTZ, the government of Germany.
Well, I
so
could say that
we started a lot of things.
As the numbers started increasing, or literally even from the very first class of graduates, I, as the chief pharmacist, remember recruiting 2 of them in what I consider my flagship project as a chief pharmacist in the Ministry of Health, the registration of drugs.
Yeah, 1981.
Not 91, no.
81.
81,
I remember.
Yeah.
Because I was a chairman.
Before these people qualified from the university, I had already single-handedly drafted regulations about the registration of drugs.
Of medicines.
And it was a hefty process.
Yeah.
It sent shock waves even up to the UK.
Yes.
And I am told by other people there were stories about that kamutu kanaitwa Mathenge. The big, I was still as thin as I am today, even those days.
The big pharma was not for it.
So this was an exercise which I literally pushed through the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. And it was to register every drug that you see around here. And it's quite a hefty process, but of course I could not do it alone. I had to get other people like him, because even if he was in industry, he was dealing with the drugs. They are the ones who are actually producing it. But the quality, we had to check. And that check was a very involving process, including how do you manufacture it? How do you test the final product that it is fit for its intended use? How do you check that it has no toxicity of any type other than possibly what can be tolerated by a human being in the course of treatment? It was a mammoth exercise, and these 2 people I recruited were the very first people who helped me in doing that. And we saw through it, and possibly we may have placed number 1 or 2 in Africa countries to have drugs tested for quality. But also associated with that one is the licensing of manufacturers. So we had to look at what the manufacturing. There were, how should I say? There were budding manufacturers. There were not many, there were 3 or 4. But of course, they were doing very limited things. But when we came to require that they should do certain things in the manufacturing related to quality, they even had to expand. They had to get somebody to do the quality control and so on. And of course, these graduates are the ones who are going to do that. So that we could now see the usefulness of this the products of the university, as well as staffing the government hospitals. Except maybe Kenyatta National Hospital, I don't think there was any other government hospital with a qualified pharmacist.
There wasn't.
Those people called the compounders.
Yep.
So it was quite a good beginning as far as we are concerned. Those of us who were there at the time, I think we are proud of what we did.
Okay. We're almost through with the questions. I think in our last response, you also touched on the development of how you sorry, I'll speak louder. So in your previous response, you've also touched on how you developed policy for practice. For instance, recruiting the two pharmacists who helped you register drugs and check for quality, right? Would you say there's any more policies, any more insight into policy, especially in your time in government and in your time in industry, how you influenced policy to positively affect practice, other than what you've already shared? Practice of pharmacy in the country.
You see, out of that, there was now the development of the pharmacy field. Because if you ask people about what is pharmacy, they will just tell you about the chemist shops and so on. This lady who called you, Jennifer, she cannot say that today she practices pharmacy. She's a researcher. And other people have gone into different ways. And you see, the field is developing. And so within subspecialties of pharmacy. Now, I think you mentioned the quality control.
Yeah.
That started in those very early stages of pharmacy in a small wooden building at Kenyatta National Hospital where the Department of Pharmacy was in.
Yeah.
They call it the drug quality control. Now it has developed into something big. I don't even know what it is, but something to be relied on nationally for the safety of drugs.
Yeah.
And there are many. There is a policing aspect of it.
Yeah.
People called the drug inspectors.
Yeah.
They
were policemen.
The quality of what is in the field. And they come and see whether that tallies with the registration of the drugs. You have seen them in the newspapers saying that such and such a drug should be withdrawn from the market. This is because it is lacking in something about quality or the general issue of that. And those are the developments in the pharmacy.
Yeah.
There are also many, those who are getting into clinical work.
Yeah.
Like chemotherapy aspects of the drugs. Not only just giving you a drug, but we may want to find out why is malaria not responding to the diseases that we have. So those ramifications are now the area where pharmacists are going.
Okay.
In fact, this issue of pharmacists and chemists you see in town is being left to the what we call now the pharmaceutical technologists.
Okay. Thank you. I think we have our friends are busy knocking here. I want to say this as we wound up. We started from those humble beginnings, and 50 years on, personally, if you ask me, we have not done enough. We were looked at the beginning as owners of chemists, of community pharmacies, and medical representative pharmacists going out there to promote medicines to clinicians and so on. I think we sharpened the supply chain management, as I told you earlier on, of being the experts on selection, storage, and distribution of the medicines all over the country. I think we as pharmacists, if you ask me, because I was giving a lecture to young pharmacists, I would say, let's walk away from there. Let's do more in research. Let's do more in the pharmaceutical manufacturing sector. Out of the 35 factories in Kenya, I think only about 3 or 4 are owned by Kenyan pharmacists. Well, they should get there. Let's do more of that. Let's also engage in the research of the what one would call traditional medicines. We in Kenya, we have not done enough. We have been too biased on promoting the conventional medicines. There's a lot that we can do to promote complementary medicines. Some things that me and him, we used to, when you said I'm a pharmacist, and you start telling them that, hang on, that drug from your village is as good as this for malaria. They said, what? You went to school to do pharmacy? You are telling me to go and take some leaves of moringa or whatever? No, that should go behind us. Let's do more research on indigenous therapy. There's a lot of scope on that thing. And that way, if we as pharmacists come on board and influence the policy at the government level, then you will see in various dispensaries and health centers, not too long from now, there will be medicines there that are on the shelf that can be used for the management of common diseases. I thank you.
Okay, thank you. So yes, we're winding up now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be asking my final question. You have given us a vision of pharmacy for the future, the next 50 years, I presume, and hopefully that's achievable.
Yes.
And so, just as a closing mark, what would you like to be remembered for in the development in the field of pharmacy in Kenya? And together with that, what would you wish to have done more to help develop pharmacy as a closing shot? Perhaps we can start with your honorable fellow Mathenge.
I said that I'm very proud of having established that drug quality controls, registration of drugs, and with it, of course, goes the laboratories and so on. As far as the future is concerned, well, I say the field is wide open. I think it is a general issue about the new development in technologies, the future to go. One of those things that now springs to my mind is this issue of Donald Trump. The threat he is posing literally to the whole world is really literally telling us, learn to do it yourself. And this is where I would say the future of pharmacy and maybe every other field is that we in Kenya or even in regional bodies like East Africa community or whatever, we should learn to do it ourselves. I think the field is wide open. I think the means of getting the new technologies are there. So let the young people like you get involved. Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Lewa, I want to be remembered for having mentored many pharmacists, particularly at the in the commercial sector. And when it came to me entering government as an advisor, consultant, we at the at the KEMSA board, where we recruited very many pharmacists, I want to say that some of the pharmacists in the course of time have let me down. I want to remain up there and be remembered as one of the people who worked with integrity in issues where medicines were procured based on the national needs of Kenya, procured, and not even one tender was messed around. We followed the rules of the book. No corners or anything else. So I'm proud of that. I want to be remembered for that. And as I said earlier on, let's get out of the traditional way of doing things. Let's move into research. Let's move into manufacturing. And as long as those other integrity issues are upheld, I'll be a happy man. 50 years from now, I'll come and talk to you and say, yeah, I'm a happy man.
Indeed.
Yes, because I'll live until I die.
Yes. Okay. Any words for the alumni and the alma mater of UON Pharmacy, School of Pharmacy? Any words of encouragement? Any words of caution?
Well, let me say that he used the word integrity.
Yeah.
And it is a lack of integrity is a threat to our well-being in the country, in Karibu all fields, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
And I would wish that element to be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
I may confess to you that during that period I was there, I was sort of what shall I say, questioned or charged, sort of. There was something which was called Shimeshero scandal. I don't know whether you have heard of it. You may have heard of it. It was a scandal that went on in what you call the medical stores. Then it is now KEMSA. And I was engulfed in it. But let me tell you, I was under great pressure to accept that I received a bribe. And I said, and I'm a dead body. So I stayed there, and in the final analysis, I just go home. The person who was involved was only one. But the number of us who were sort of rounded up included even the permanent secretary and the director of medical services, and the man who was running that medical stores. And you can see how one person can spoil the name. In fact, I think that store for a long time was a clean store until some years back. Now there are questions. So integrity in the execution of whatever mandate that you are given. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I don't think I want to add anything more that. If we can train a pharmacist who is not only the one who commands the respect from the manufacturing to the distribution of essential medicines, let that person also be trained or develop an ethical respect to values and integrity. Let him not be swayed away from that call and be tempted to make a quick buck, because the temptations are there. So we will work with the professors of the University of Nairobi. We congratulate them for having done that for those 50 years, and we are there if we have to talk about integrity and what we have gone through ourselves without a scratch. I wouldn't be here today if there are many others who are trained with us, but they're not, I'm proud to say, they don't walk with their heads high, be they in Nairobi or in Kilifi. And Makiu, some of us served, not only in Kenya, but in other countries as pharmacists. So I thank you very much.
Yeah.
And let the pharmacy profession live with integrity. and we shall ensure that the young people attain those levels of ethical practice.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much. Thank you.